Sum the difference. Hit F9. What am I doing here? Notice you have some negative numbers there. Then we have to figure out we need positive. What are we going to do? I'm going to introduce you to a bunch of different absolute values to reverse a negative to a positive. In this tutorial, it's very straightforward. We're just going to sum up a bunch of different information using a couple different functions. The layout is straightforward. We're going to just add up whatever you want to add up. We have a sum we're going to add. We have a sum product. We're going to use this name range. We're going to use this difference here. What's the difference? All we did was take projections versus estimates. And we want a byproduct of that. We either want an absolute value or we want to sum the product. Let me just show you what's going on here. We have the sum different, and I just highlighted what we're trying to do here. We have seven different examples, 7 or 8 different examples here of what you can do with sum product. We have absolute value. If you don't know what absolute value is, we're going to take negatives and change them into positives. Whether that works for you really comes down to what application you're using. Sometimes, for simplicity, you need to change to absolute value. Otherwise, it can cause all kinds of problems long term. So be very, very careful when you're dealing with absolute value. Second, if you're working with a team and they don't get the absolute value and what you're trying to accomplish, and down the road when you leave the company, and you will, whoever follows up may not be able to track it. So just be careful and make notes. Let me just show you what's going on here. I highlighted what we're trying to do here. So we have 3 examples. You can go in and you can see what we're doing by just clicking any one of these. You can say, well, what are we trying to do? Well, we have sum product, absolute value, difference. And all I did was say difference greater than 0. We're going to use this range or this list right here, difference. We're just going to play around with it. So we have sum. We have sum difference. Well, difference is D. And all we're going to do is add it up. It says 810. And all we did was add it up. Well, I did the same thing as a check here, sum difference. Sum product, absolute difference. Okay, absolute value calculates the absolute value of a number. What does that mean? It just takes negatives and turns into positive. So what we did here, we just absolute difference 50. I don't know what's going to happen here. I'm just going to hit F9 and see what the numbers look like. What this is going to do is going to take this information, and you see these negatives, it's going to turn them into positive. That's why when we look at this, the difference between the sum and the sum product is 1184. Why? Well, because we turned the negatives to positive. Can you do that with sum in terms of, well, why don't you use sum and absolute value? Well, we have an attempt here. We have sum, absolute. Now, keep in mind, older versions of Excel require you to use Control Enter. I'm using Excel 2021. Now, if you're on Excel Online 365, you don't need to put these parentheses, but older versions, you're going to need to do that. So you need to put Control Shift Enter. Remember that. Now, if I try to do that here, generally it will kick out an error, or I don't need them altogether. Well, you can see, all right, I have an F9 here. In most cases, on the newer versions of Excel, you can't even enter this. So let's try it again. I'm going to see if it will accept. See what happens here. It will kick out and not do what it's supposed to do. Let me try this again. Let's back out. Shift, bracket, curly bracket, curly bracket. See, it turns into text there, and that's what it's supposed to do. So now what I need to try to do is I'll hit Control Shift Enter and it won't do it. Control Shift Enter, and see, it won't add the brackets any longer. If you're using anything I think it's 2019, I know certainly 2025 or 2021, Office 365, you can do this. I mean, you don't need to put these brackets, but older versions you need to. And I think 2019 may include some of this stuff. Anyway, back to what we're trying to do. You can see here some, you can actually add the absolute, so you don't need to use the sum product. Other than that, that's it. You can read this. I probably wrote up, yep, this is an extended write-up. If you're uncertain as to what the absolute value is, here's the write-up here, and it'll explain to you what we're doing. Here we have greater than 0. So all we're asking is sum product difference 50 greater than 0. I was looking for anything greater than 0. We're counting. We're not summing. We're counting when we use the sum product here. So we have sum product. Remember, notice the difference. Sum product, absolute, and sum product with the unary. We're counting when we're using the unary. Here, we're summing. So here we have this F9. And we're going to see, we turn everything to true, 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 true. And then sum product is just simply going to add, going to take this array, and it's going to go 1, 1, 0, and it's just going to add those up. We go back up here. We do the exact same thing. We're going to see F9, and we're going to have these numbers. All sum product's going to do is it's going to add those numbers. You're asking, well, what? Well, yeah. What does sum product do? It deals with numbers. So you don't need to put the unary in using numbers. Be sure to check out our extensive courses, which include Excel data and text manipulation for advanced users, beginners, intermediate. We also have this great essentials, the A to Z for advanced users, the comprehensive beginner level 1 and 2. Then we have our advanced formulas, strictly formulas, great set of courses, which we have a beginner level 1 and beginner level 2, this intermediate level, and we have this advanced level. Click on any of the links. There's a short video that explains everything about the course. Check it out or sum up the numbers. It's when you're dealing with text or characters, you have to use unary unless you want to count. Now, we could use the count function to do the exact same thing, but you can see the flexibility of the sum product. Now, absolute value, what happened here? Now, here is where Microsoft's going to interfere, or you want to make sure that the brackets are required. So you put this @ sign in order for this to override this spill feature. This should be 286 absolute variance. What are we trying to do? I think we're just trying to find @ sign is simply to keep this from spilling over. If you took the beginner course, the very extensive beginner course, there's a long section on this spill feature. And I'm not going to get into it. You can enroll in the other course if you need to. The beginner course, this is what happens if you don't explicitly put the @ it's just going to spill. And it's senseless. This is what drives me crazy with this spill feature. And again, there's no way to turn it off. Hit Control Z, see if you can get this thing to reverse. Okay, Control Z. What are we trying to do? We're trying to find the absolute variance of 50. I don't know what the hell that means. At difference 50. Okay. Now, in terms of reading this, if you remove all of this other noise and you're just looking at this absolute variance, the reading can be really difficult if you don't understand it. 324 represents this number here. Why? Because if we remove this particular @ sign, this is the way it's read. Okay, this is absolute value, absolute difference 50. It's reading 185 and it spills down. For whatever reason, however they programmed it, if you explicitly turn the spill feature off, it's not going to read 185. It's going to read the row number. If we replace it, it's going to go 170. If you copy this down, you're going to see here's where the absolute comes into value because it changes that -46 to 46. All right, just some features you're going to need to familiarize yourself with. Scratch your head going, what is Excel trying to do without telling me? I just figured that out as we're on the go here. Why? Because I didn't think about it. I was wondering, what's this 257? Well, it's just the row. So just keep that in mind. If you want to control this, you probably could put indirect in here, include indirect in this formula. It may or may not solve that situation, but this is a lesson of practice, practice, practice. Brad Williams, Excel Primed.